What's up, everybody? Omar back at it again with Dirtbag Garage. If you haven't checked it out, go to the Dirtbag Garage on Instagram or on YouTube. My own page is dr_omiz. It's OMIZ. Let's continue with this Tundra. Today we're doing some brakes, and I went with the Power Stop kit. These are just a little bit more expensive than what you would find for OEM replacement at like O'Reilly's or AutoZone or something like that. I've used these in my truck in the past, and they've been, really great. So you got a full kit. I have the rears too, but I don't know if I'm gonna be brave enough to put those together today. Yeah, but I got drilled and slotted rotors and some heavy duty brake pads. All right, now that we got the wheel off, I have a bucket here, so when we take off the caliper, I can rest it on something. We're gonna put these brake pads, push them back against the pistons. You can do this a couple different ways. You can use a C-clamp. I like to use a big set of pliers and basically grab the brake pad and use this little piece of metal here and squeeze them together. And that should give us enough tension to release the brake pads. We got to take off this clip. I think our brakes come with a new one. And then this other clip back here, which hooks into the pins that come across to hold the brake pad in place. All right, so we got the brake pads pushed back against the pistons enough to release some tension on this guy. So I got a little flathead and pulled the pins out pulled this retaining clip off the pins. And now we can just grab a set of pliers and pull these pins out. The top one, you might need to put a little pressure on this clip so that you can pull the pin out. So now we got all the retaining clips off and the pins out. I like to continue pushing the brake pads against the pistons. So, this is stationary, so it's a little easier to work with, but you can do it off of the caliper bracket if you want. All right, once you got the brake pads pushed against the pistons all the way, take these brake pads out. And then you're gonna move on to the bolts holding in the brake caliper, which is this bolt here and this bolt here. So 1 and 2, and I believe they're 17ths. All right, just put some PB Blaster on these bolts because sometimes they can be a little seized in there. Really great for rusted bolts. Taking a look at the brake pads that I just took out. These are not in terrible shape, but they're cracked. They look like they have some kind of uneven wear in some sections, which could cause some pulsating. Not to mention that brake fluid was pretty bad. Our new kit comes with pins, retaining clips, some grease, which is awesome, the brake pads for both sides, and a wear indicator, which is pretty cool. Very nice quality. Okay, now that we got our last bolt out here, set that aside. I took the brake line off of the bracket back here. You can see it. I put the bolt back in there just so I don't lose it. And then we're just gonna grab this guy and set it aside for now. And we're gonna work on taking the rotor off. It should just pop straight out. Okay, so we pulled off the rotor. Doesn't look too bad. There isn't any crazy grooves. It looks like there was some residue from the old brake pads. No lip here, so theoretically we could have just reused this rotor and got some new brake pads, but we're gonna switch them out anyway. Here's the cross-drilled and slotted rotors. Normally it wouldn't matter what side you're putting these on, but since the slots are specific orientation, this is says front passenger and driver, so just be conscious of that. All right, now that you got your rotor bound there, just try to push it against the hub as flush as you can. Slide your caliper back on there, and then work these bolts in by hand first on the bottom and the top to make sure that they line up properly so you don't strip them, and then get them torqued down. Okay, got our hose bracket back on. The caliper bolts are torqued down to 90 foot-pounds. Now we're ready to put our brake pads in. Here is our new brake pads. I'm going to put the wear indicator on the inside and then the other pad on the outside. Got 2 pins. This one actually uses aftermarket retaining clip. It's a little easier to get on. This one goes on top, and then this is caliper grease that we're going to put on the back plate so that there's no noise. So you don't need a ton, just where the pistons are going to touch the caliper. And then we're going to take this guy and slide it right in. So got back from AutoZone because we ran into a bit of an issue. I guess there's 2 different sizes for these. There is a 4.7 and a 5 something. I guess there's different calipers for tote packages or the later double cabs, so just be conscious of getting the right size for your calipers. All right, it's the same concept. These are ceramic rotors I picked up at, pads at AutoZone. Just grease them up on the contact points. They have a little winner indicator too, and then just slide these guys in. All right, once you got your pads in, you can just push in the pins. This retaining clip goes like this, and you squeeze it together to bring the ears in, like that. And then you should be able to throw this across. Kind of hard to do this with one hand, but bring this all the way across. All right, I'm reusing the hardware because I might have to exchange those other pads, and I don't want to give them, get any flack for returning them with the new hardware used. But after you're done putting these pins in, these slide into the pins on both sides, and then you just hook this guy right here in the middle of the caliper, and you're good to go. And your finished product should look like this. Essentially, you're doing the same steps on the other side. And then once that side's done, then we can move on to brake bleeding if I don't do the rear today.